I had always thought of myself as ordinary, maybe even invisible in the grand scheme of things. My name is Ryan, 21, a college student with an unremarkable life, tucked into the quiet rhythms of my hometown. My apartment was a modest one-bedroom on the edge of the city, a place that offered just enough space for privacy, my small sanctuary where no one could judge me, where no one could see the parts of myself I hid from the world. That part was my secret passion, the soft thrill of crossdressing. Not for attention, not for a dare, not even as a fantasy, just for myself. The delicate fabrics, the gentle brush of makeup, the way heels made me feel taller, yet strangely fragile. It was a world of sensations that both terrified and captivated me. Yet even in my private moments, there was always a shadow of guilt. Society's expectations, my own self-consciousness, the fear of being rejected by anyone I loved, especially Emma, my girlfriend of 2 years, hovered over me like a cloud. Emma didn't know. I had never told her, and perhaps I never would. The thought of her discovering my secret sent shivers down my spine. She was beautiful, confident, and untouchably charismatic, the kind of person who could make an entire room pause just by walking in. Our relationship was a delicate dance, love intertwined with caution, affection tempered by my hidden truths. That morning, the sun poured through my blinds in a warm golden glow, illuminating the tiny imperfections of my apartment. Empty coffee cups lined the counter, textbooks lay open in a haphazard heap, and my phone buzzed with the usual notifications, class reminders, Emma's texts, and a string of social media updates I scarcely had the patience to read. I yawned and stretched, catching my reflection in the mirror by the doorway. The image staring back at me was familiar yet fleeting, like a version of myself I could step into but never fully inhabit. My messy brown hair, broad shoulders, and the plain hoodie I always wore were the armor of my everyday existence. I adjusted the hoodie and ran a hand down my face, trying to shake off the morning lethargy. Emma had left early for her internship at a nearby design studio. Her texts had been cheerful, teasing me about sleeping in while she tackled her busy day. "Try not to disappear under your blankets forever," face blowing a kiss. One read. I smiled at the thought of her words like a light touch against my chest. She was the person I trusted most, yet paradoxically, the person I feared revealing myself to. Our dynamic was complicated, built on trust yet fragile like the finest glass. Mom, on the other hand, had always been the wild card in my life. She was eccentric, brilliant in ways that often bordered on dangerous, and deeply involved in her personal experiments. Her obsession with potions and remedies, some harmless, some questionable, was legendary in our family. She had a certain charm, a mischievous glint in her eyes, and a voice that could be both soothing and commanding. I adored her, yet she had this uncanny ability to blur the lines between care and control. That morning, Mom called me down to the kitchen. The smell of herbs and sweet syrup filled the air, a heady, intoxicating aroma that made my stomach twist with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. On the counter lay a small glass vial, the contents a shimmering pink liquid that caught the sunlight. Mom's smile was wide, almost conspiratorial. "I made something special," she said, her tone playful but with an edge that set off warning bells in my mind. It's meant to help you understand someone you've always admired." I raised an eyebrow, trying to mask my unease. "Understand someone? Who?" She chuckled softly, her eyes twinkling. "Oh, you'll see. Just trust me on this one. It's completely safe, I promise." Something about her assurance made my stomach knot. I had learned long ago that Mom's version of safe was rarely what I would consider safe. Still, there was a magnetic pull in her presence, an irresistible combination of affection and authority that made me want to obey, to step into whatever world she had crafted. My curiosity, combined with the thrill of risk, won over caution. I took the vial hesitantly, feeling the glass cool against my palm. The liquid shimmered in the light, almost alive. "Are you sure about this?" I asked, my voice wavering slightly. "Absolutely," she replied. "Just one sip." Close your eyes and imagine becoming the person you admire most. Fully experience their world. Trust me, Ryan. My hand shook as I brought the vial to my lips. The moment the liquid touched my tongue, a warmth spread through me that was immediate and unnerving. Colors seemed sharper, sounds more precise, and a strange tingling ran through my body. My vision blurred, then sharpened, and suddenly I felt lighter, softer, different. I staggered back, gripping the counter for support, and Mom's laughter rang in my ears, soft, delighted, almost predatory. I stumbled to the mirror and gasped. My reflection had changed. My broad shoulders were narrower, my jawline softer, my hair cascading longer than I remembered. My chest felt strangely full, my face delicate and feminine, every feature molded into an unfamiliar yet stunning likeness. My breath caught, panic rising, fear and exhilaration colliding in my chest. I touched my cheeks, my lips, my hair, hardly daring to believe what I saw. I know, she looked exactly like Mom had promised, beautiful, delicate, fully transformed. What did you do? I whispered, my voice a high, unfamiliar pitch. Mom's smile was radiant, almost cruel in its perfection. I helped you become her, she said simply. Her your sister in a way. Experience her world, her life. Understand her in a way you never could as yourself. Shock, terror, and an odd, forbidden thrill coursed through me. I stumbled back, my new body unfamiliar under my hands, my senses heightened, my mind racing with questions and fears. This wasn't just a simple transformation. This was complete. Permanent, or at least it felt permanent. Emma's voice buzzed in my pocket, a text flashing across the screen. See you tonight? Can't wait, face blowing a kiss. My chest tightened. How could I see her like this? How could I face her? The excitement of my hidden passion now tangled with an overwhelming dread. My secret life, once my own, had been stolen and rewritten in pink liquid and Mom's mischievous intent. I barely noticed Mom stepping back, her eyes glittering with anticipation. Take your time, she said softly. But remember, you've got to live as her now. Don't be afraid of who you've become. And there I stood, alone in my room, my heart hammering, hands trembling, staring at a reflection that was no longer entirely mine. The transformation wasn't just physical. Already, emotions I had never allowed myself to feel were stirring. Vulnerability, excitement, fear, and a strange, seductive curiosity about what it would be like to live as her, to step fully into this borrowed identity. The room felt smaller, constricting, as if the walls themselves were watching, waiting. My mind spun with possibilities. Could I go back? Should I? What would Emma say? And what, exactly, had Mom done to me? The sun continued to pour in, oblivious to the storm raging within me. I had crossed a threshold I could never uncross. And with that, the first step into a new, uncertain, and terrifying world began. I couldn't take my eyes off the mirror. Every time I blinked, I half expected to see Ryan staring back at me, my old self with familiar features and broad shoulders. But it never came. Instead, I saw her, me now, delicate and impossibly feminine, with soft hair brushing past my shoulders and lips that were fuller, softer, impossible to ignore. My hands shook as I touched my cheeks, tracing the contours of this new face, feeling the smoothness of my skin, the unfamiliar weight of my breasts pressing gently against the soft fabric of a borrowed blouse. The sensation was electric, almost dizzying, and my mind raced between panic and the thrill I had always secretly craved. Mom watched me from the doorway, a satisfied smile on her lips, her eyes gleaming with amusement and something deeper, more calculating. Take your time, she said, her voice a soothing mixture of encouragement and command. Feel every part of it. Embrace her world. Her words should have terrified me, but instead, I felt a flicker of curiosity. What was it like to live as her, to walk in these shoes, to experience life through this body that was so utterly different from my own? My fingers grazed the hem of my skirt, a soft, flowing fabric that brushed my thighs, and a shiver ran down my spine. I had never worn anything like this before. Every fold of cloth, every brush of silk against skin, sent a wave of unfamiliar sensations that made my heart pound faster. I stumbled toward the bed, trying to steady myself, my new body still alien and uncooperative. My legs wobbled under the unfamiliar curves, and my voice, when I tried to speak, came out higher, softer, unmistakably feminine. "Mom, what did you do?" She laughed softly, stepping closer. "I gave you a chance to understand her, to experience life from a perspective you've never known. It's not permanent. Well, not entirely, but it's enough to teach you something important." I swallowed hard, my throat dry, my mind spinning. Teach me something important? I had no idea what that meant, and the uncertainty gnawed at me, mixing with the fluttering excitement of the transformation. My reflection was breathtaking, undeniably beautiful, and part of me wanted to marvel at it, to explore it fully. But another part, the rational, frightened part of me, screamed that I was losing control, that my life as I knew it was slipping away, replaced by this unfamiliar identity that I hadn't chosen for myself. I moved toward the vanity, my hands brushing over the neat rows of makeup Mom had laid out for me. Eyeliner, mascara, subtle blush, and a soft pink lipstick. All of it beckoned with a promise of transformation beyond the physical. Trembling, I picked up the brush and applied it carefully, watching in fascination as my eyes seemed to open wider. My cheeks took on a rosy glow, and my lips became more defined. The mirror reflected someone entirely different, someone who could command attention simply by existing. And yet, every stroke made my heart race faster.
Emma.
The thought of her seeing me like this, of anyone seeing me like this, was terrifying. What would she think? Would she laugh, reject me, or worse, would she love me more in this form than as Ryan? The fear and curiosity tangled together, creating a cocktail of sensations that left me dizzy and trembling. Hours seemed to pass in minutes as I experimented with outfits, hairstyles, and the smallest details of my new appearance. Mom hovered nearby, offering gentle guidance, correcting a stray lock of hair or adjusting the hem of my skirt. Her involvement was both comforting and invasive, a reminder that this transformation was orchestrated by her, that she held the power to guide me through this uncharted territory or pull me back at a whim. The thrill of the transformation was intoxicating. I twirled in front of the mirror, watching the skirt flare around me, the new shape of my body moving with a grace I had never known. High heels perched precariously on the floor beckoned, and I hesitated, the memory of Ryan's clumsy attempts at balance making me nervous. But curiosity won. I slipped them on, wobbling at first, then finding a rhythm, a tentative confidence that made me stand taller, feel longer, more elegant. Every movement heightened the duality inside me, a mix of delight and fear, confidence and vulnerability. I felt exposed, yet powerful. I was walking on the edge of two worlds, teetering between the familiar comfort of Ryan and the alluring uncertainty of her. Mom finally stepped back, her expression satisfied. "You're ready," she said. "Now it's time to test your world. Experience life as her, even if it's just for a few hours. Trust yourself." I nodded, though my legs felt like jelly. The apartment felt smaller, every shadow more pronounced, every sound sharper. Emma was still at her internship, but what if she came back early? What if a neighbor saw me? The stakes of exposure were immediate, palpable, and terrifying. My pulse raced as I considered the challenge of leaving the apartment, of interacting with the world in this new form. I practiced walking to the door, balancing on the heels, adjusting the skirt, smoothing my hair. The sound of my own steps on the hardwood floor made me flinch, each click echoing in my ears like a countdown. I glanced at the mirror one last time before opening the door, catching a glimpse of myself that made my stomach twist in a mix of excitement and dread. Stepping outside, the sunlight hit me, and I felt the eyes of the world brushing against my skin. Even though no one was there, the sensation was real. Every passerby, every sound, Every movement seemed amplified. I felt hyper-aware, vulnerable, yet exhilarated. The city, once familiar, now seemed full of possibilities and dangers I had never imagined. I wandered down the street, noticing the subtle reactions of people. Some glanced curiously, some ignored me entirely. My reflection in shop windows made me catch my breath. This was me, yet not me, and the thrill of the duality sent shivers down my spine. Every step reinforced the new identity. Every movement trained me in the art of inhabiting this body, this persona. Hours passed in a blur of exploration, self-discovery, and nerve-wracking encounters. I ventured into a cafe, ordered a drink with a voice that sounded alien to my own ears, and felt the excitement of being seen, acknowledged, and judged in a way Ryan never had been. The thrill of secret exposure mingled with a deep, gnawing fear. What if someone recognized me? What if Emma saw me like this first? Returning home, I collapsed onto the bed, exhausted, exhilarated, and more conflicted than ever. The apartment, once my sanctuary, now felt like a stage, a place where the boundaries between Ryan and her blurred dangerously. Mom's laughter echoed in my mind, reminding me that this was only the beginning, that the potion had opened a door I could never fully close. Night fell, and with it came a deeper anxiety. I checked my phone repeatedly, imagining Emma's arrival, wondering how she would react. I knew that my secret, my true self, was now intertwined with this new persona. The thrill of crossdressing, once hidden, was now inseparable from a reality I could not escape. I lay in bed, unable to sleep, replaying every movement, every glance, every sensation. My body was hers now, my mind a chaotic mix of Ryan's rationality and her intoxicating allure. I realized, with a mixture of dread and fascination, that the real challenge was just beginning. The world would see me as her, and I would have to navigate it carefully, balancing fear, desire, and the intoxicating thrill of being caught, yet never fully revealing the truth. The hours passed, and with them, the tension mounted. Each thought of Emma, each imagined glance from a passerby, each flicker of shadow in the apartment became a test of my resolve. Could I maintain this balance, walk this tightrope of dual identities, and survive the coming days? Or would the world, and Emma, see through the illusion and shatter everything I had come to fear and secretly crave? By the time I finally closed my eyes, exhausted and trembling, the reality of my new life pressed down on me with undeniable weight. The potion had transformed more than my body, it had transformed my existence. And I knew, with a mixture of terror and anticipation, that I could never go back to being just Ryan. The real suspense, the real danger, and the real exhilaration were only beginning. The morning sunlight spilled through the curtains, illuminating the soft curves of my new body, and with it came a fresh wave of panic. Mom was gone for the day, leaving me alone in this borrowed existence, yet the fear that Emma could appear at any moment gnawed at my mind. Every sound from the street below, every creak of the apartment floorboards, felt amplified, like a drumbeat announcing my exposure. I paced, high heels clicking sharply against the floor, trying to steady my racing thoughts. The sensation of walking in them now felt second nature, yet every step carried the weight of vulnerability. My reflection caught my eye as I passed the mirror, soft hair cascading over my shoulders, lips painted a delicate rose, skirts swaying with every movement. I looked undeniably feminine, undeniably her, and undeniably at risk of being discovered. The first knock came suddenly, sharp and insistent, making me jump. My heart pounded violently. "Emma?" I whispered, my voice trembling as I slid toward the door. There was a pause, then another knock, closer, more urgent. I backed away, my mind racing. What do I do? What do I say? I fumbled for my phone, hoping for a message or a lifeline, but the screen was blank. No alerts. No calls. I could only assume the worst. She was here, now, on the verge of discovering everything. My hands shook as I reached for the door handle, my reflection in the hallway mirror reminding me of the transformation I could no longer deny. Opening the door slowly, I found not Emma, but a neighbor, Mrs. Langley, the nosy older woman from 2 floors up. Her eyes widened at the sight of me. "Oh my, you look different," she said, her tone both curious and disapproving. I forced a polite smile, feeling every ounce of tension in my body. Thanks, Mrs. Langley," I stammered. "Just trying something new." She tilted her head, squinting. "Something new, huh? Well, you certainly stand out. Mind if I come in for a minute?"
No.
I panicked, realizing that even a brief interaction could unravel everything. I needed to keep control, to manage appearances, to maintain this fragile balance between fear and fascination. "Maybe later," I blurted, shutting the door before she could respond further. My heart raced, and I sank against it, trying to calm my thoughts. The brief encounter left me shaken, yet it also sparked a thrill I hadn't anticipated. The world would see me as her, whether I wanted it or not. And in that exposure, in that vulnerability, there was a dangerous allure I couldn't deny. My pulse slowed slightly, replaced by a growing curiosity. How far could I push this persona before someone discovered the truth? The next obstacle arrived in the form of a message from Emma. "Running late. Be home in an hour." My stomach twisted. That hour stretched like a lifetime, each minute punctuated by the fear of discovery and the exhilaration of being on the edge. I paced again, each step in my heels a reminder of how utterly different and delicate my body had become. I decided to test the boundaries further. I ventured out to the local cafe, nervously adjusting my skirt and smoothing my hair. The city felt different through these eyes, this body, this identity. Strangers' glances lingered longer, conversations around me seemed to carry double meanings, and I felt a mix of fear and euphoria with every step. I ordered a coffee, my voice soft, melodic, undeniably feminine. The barista smiled, offering a compliment that made my heart leap. "Lovely choice of outfit," he said casually. I smiled, trying to mask my trembling hands. Compliments had always been rare for Ryan, but now, in this body, this persona, they flowed freely. It was intoxicating, almost addictive, and yet I couldn't shake the underlying fear. Each compliment was a test. How long before someone recognized me? How long before Emma saw through the illusion? Returning home, I found the apartment empty, save for the remnants of Mom's presence. A half-finished potion on the counter, a faint scent of herbs lingering in the air. My mind raced with questions. Could I reverse this? Should I? And what was Mom's ultimate goal? Was this merely an experiment, a lesson, or something more sinister? The doorbell rang again, this time more insistent. My pulse quickened. I crept to the peephole and saw Emma standing there, her expression unreadable. She had come home early. My mind froze, every fear materializing in that single moment. I was exposed, utterly, undeniably. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door, forcing a casual smile, hoping my nerves wouldn't betray me. "Hey,
Emma."
"You're home early." Her eyes widened, and she stepped inside without a word, scanning the apartment, then settling on me. "Ryan," she said, voice trembling. "Is that really you?" The moment stretched, unbearable and electric. I tried to explain, to offer some semblance of reassurance, but my words faltered. It's Mom, she the potion," I stammered, the surreal truth spilling out faster than I could control. Emma's expression shifted from confusion to shock to a glimmer of curiosity. You're her," she whispered, almost to herself. "You look incredible." The words, though meant as a compliment, sent a new wave of panic through me. Incredible. Not Ryan, not me, incredible. I felt exposed, seen, vulnerable in a way that went beyond fear. And yet, there was a thrill there too, a dangerous, irresistible thrill. The next hours were a tense dance of conversation, observation, and unspoken questions. Emma moved around the apartment, examining details, touching surfaces, all while keeping her eyes on me. I felt every glance, every subtle gesture, every pause like a test I couldn't fail. I don't know what to say, she finally admitted, sitting down across from me. That's amazing, but it's so different. I don't know if I can understand, I supplied, my voice trembling. I don't either. She nodded, biting her lip. It's the lot. But I think I don't know. I kind of like it. You're beautiful. But it's not just the appearance, I don't know. You're different. I can feel it. The intensity of her words, the honesty, and the raw emotional exposure created a tension that made my chest ache. I was terrified of rejection, of judgment, of losing everything familiar. And yet, in her acceptance, even tentative, there was a dangerous, intoxicating freedom. We sat there, the weight of silence heavy between us, each of us processing the transformation, the reality, and the impossible questions hanging in the air. What did this mean for our relationship? For my identity? For the boundaries of self and desire? Hours passed in this suspended state, the city outside moving obliviously while we navigated this intimate, charged confrontation. Every glance, every gesture, every word was amplified, charged with the possibility of revelation and the thrill of connection. And then it happened, a sudden crash from the kitchen. The potion bottle tipped over, its contents spilling across the counter. The liquid shimmered, catching the light, a stark reminder of the fragile, volatile nature of my new identity. Panic surged. I lunged forward to stop it, my skirt brushing against the floor, my heels slipping slightly. Emma reached out instinctively, catching me, and our eyes locked. In that single, suspended moment, everything hung in the balance. Exposure, desire, fear, and exhilaration collided, creating a tension so intense it felt unbearable. I was vulnerable, exposed, yet alive in a way I had never imagined. The stakes of secrecy, identity, and acceptance had never felt so immediate, so urgent. Emma's hand lingered on mine, her expression a mixture of shock, curiosity, and something deeper. "Are you still you?" she asked softly. I swallowed, my pulse hammering in my ears. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I feel more myself than ever." The world outside continued without pause, but in that apartment, time seemed to freeze. The climax of fear, desire, and transformation had reached its peak, and every moment beyond this point would test the boundaries of identity, love, and acceptance. And just as I thought I could breathe, another knock came, sharp, urgent, unignorable. Mom had returned. The final, impossible test was here. Emma's eyes widened, my own heart raced, and the precarious balance of secrecy, vulnerability, and exhilaration teetered on the edge of disaster. I froze, realizing with a sinking feeling that everything was about to change. The knock at the door reverberated through the apartment like a gunshot.
Mom.
My pulse slammed against my ribs as Emma and I froze, our eyes locking in panic and disbelief. Every rational thought fled, replaced by the raw, uncontrollable terror of being discovered. My body, still delicate and unfamiliar, trembled, and I felt the skirt of my outfit brush against the floor in a way that made me painfully aware of how exposed I was. "Mom," I whispered, my voice catching in my throat. Emma's hand gripped mine tightly, her eyes wide but strangely calm, as if she understood the gravity of what was about to happen. My brain raced. I needed to hide, to change back, to find some way to regain control, but every second that passed made the situation more precarious. Mom's voice called from the hallway, cheerful, unsuspecting. "Ryan, are you here? I need to show you something." Each syllable struck me like a hammer, a reminder of the power she held in this situation, and of the potion that had reshaped my life entirely. Emma's grip tightened. "What do we do?" she whispered, panic threading through her usually composed voice. I don't know," I admitted, my mind spinning. I considered hiding in the bathroom, or the closet, or even escaping through the balcony, but the risk was immense. One misstep, 1 second of hesitation, and Mom would see me, her daughter, in my borrowed body, vulnerable and undeniably transformed. The doorknob rattled. Mom was about to enter. My stomach churned, my heart threatening to burst. I took a shaky breath and stepped forward, my heels clicking against the floor in the tense silence. Emma followed closely, her presence a strange mixture of support and temptation, amplifying the anxiety coursing through me. Mom pushed the door open. Her eyes widened, taking in the scene. "Oh, wow," she said, her tone dripping with amusement and surprise. She glanced between Emma and me, her gaze lingering on my transformed figure. "I didn't expect to find this," she added, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. I tried to speak, to explain, but words failed me. The weight of exposure pressed down, making it almost impossible to breathe. Emma stepped slightly forward, protective yet curious, her eyes fixed on Mom. Mom laughed softly, the sound echoing in the apartment. "You really are something else. I didn't think the potion would work so perfectly." Her gaze lingered on me with a strange intensity, and a chill ran down my spine. "Perfectly." I swallowed hard, feeling my chest tighten. "Mom, please, this isn't." But Mom held up a hand, cutting me off. No, let me finish." She walked closer, her steps deliberate, each one amplifying my fear. "You've become everything I imagined and more. But now, there's a choice to make." A choice. My mind reeled. Was there a way to reverse this? Could I regain my old life? Or was I trapped, caught between the person I was and the person Mom had created? The uncertainty gnawed at me, a silent scream echoing in every fiber of my being. Emma whispered, almost to herself. What choice? What could she mean? Mom's eyes twinkled, a mixture of amusement and mischief. Do you stay as you are, or do you try to go back? But be warned, Ryan. Once you've truly become her, going back isn't so simple. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and oppressive. I felt the weight of every decision, every potential consequence, crushing me. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye again. Soft features, delicate curves, lips painted perfectly. I looked like a stranger, yet undeniably me. The duality was terrifying, exhilarating, and impossibly seductive all at once. Emma's hand brushed mine, grounding me, yet also intensifying the tension. Whatever happens, she whispered, I'm here, but you have to decide. Mom stepped closer, her presence commanding, almost magnetic. Time is short, she said softly, yet with an unmistakable firmness. Think carefully. One choice, and everything changes. The clock ticked audibly in the background, each second a drumbeat counting down to revelation, to transformation, to a future I could not yet comprehend. My mind spun, torn between fear and curiosity, between desire and instinct, between the past I knew and the impossible present. I opened my mouth, tried to speak, but no words came. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for my decision, waiting for the next moment, waiting for the tipping point when everything would be revealed or irrevocably changed. Mom's gaze softened, but it held an edge, a promise of consequences. Decide wisely, my child, she said, almost gently, because once you make your choice, there's no turning back. Emma squeezed my hand, her eyes pleading yet trusting, the tension between us almost unbearable. My pulse raced, my thoughts scattered, and I felt a dizzying mixture of anticipation, fear, and longing. The room seemed smaller, the air heavier, as if every molecule were charged with suspense, holding me captive in a world I didn't recognize but had been forced to inhabit. And then the doorbell rang again. A sharp, insistent sound. Not Mom. Someone else. My stomach lurched. Who could it be now? Another neighbor? A stranger? Or worse, someone who could expose everything I had become? Mom's smile widened, almost predatory. Ah, she said, her voice calm but layered with meaning. It seems your life just got a little more complicated. Emma and I exchanged a glance, panic and excitement mixing in a dangerous cocktail. The moment stretched, time slowed, and my mind raced through possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. I realized with chilling clarity that nothing would ever be the same again. The knock came again, louder this time, echoing through the apartment with a sense of inevitability. My heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to reverse what had been done, but there was no escape. Not now. Not ever. And in that suspended instant, frozen between fear and fascination, I understood the truth. My life, my identity, and my very self had been irrevocably transformed. The screen would fade to black here, leaving viewers suspended, hearts racing, minds spinning. Would I embrace my new identity? Would Emma accept me fully? What consequences awaited once the door opened? The questions were endless, and the suspense unbearable, an invitation for the audience to speculate, comment, and imagine what would happen next.